Well, hey, my name is John Campea, and this is an open spoiler discussion of Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 6, also known as, what is it? Yeah, also known as, that's it, The Tragedy. The Tragedy, which is an ominous way for that episode to start. In case the name of this video did not give it away completely to you, and it should have given it away completely, is the fact that, some people are saying choppy sound. Hold on a second, let me listen to my own sound, see what's going on here. I'm checking. Okay, hold on a second. Let me see what's going on. I'm checking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let me see what's going on. You're right, there is some kind of choppy sound. Let me see if I can fix that. Give me 1 second. We're off to a... All right, and we're back on. Now, does this, let me just check to see if it's good now. Hold on 1 second. I'm not hearing anything. Give me a sec. Give me a sec again. 1, 2, 3. I'm not hearing anything. Give me a sec. Okay, I think it's all good now. 1, 2, 3. Is it all good now with everybody? Okay, it's all good. Hey, this is a supplemental video, whatever. Give me a break. Anyway, guys, we're here to talk about Mandalorian. In case the title did not give it away, this is going to be a full, open, spoiler discussion. If you have not seen this episode, The Tragedy of Mandalorian, please come back and visit this video after you have. Or maybe you just don't care about spoilers and you're okay watching this video before you do the show, but you have been warned. All right, guys, let's talk about this thing. Here's how we're going to do it. I'm going to give you my general impressions about it, and then we'll spend the rest of the episode just taking your live questions. You guys can use the super chat feature here on YouTube if you want to send in a live comment or question, and you're going to be supporting the channel while you do that at the same time, so thank you to everybody for that. All right, let's get to it. This was... I mean, I feel like every single episode of Mandalorian, by the way, obviously my wife Ann is not here today. She's on her way out of town. She has to go visit somebody out of town. Don't worry, she'll be back again for next week. She will. She'll be back. So she sends her regards to everybody. She's sorry she couldn't be here today. So it's just you and I. Yes, we're just you and I. So anyway, I feel like every week this season, including episode 2, which I know some people did not like, that even with episode 2, I feel like every episode ends and I feel like, is that my favorite episode of Mandalorian so far? And normally I go, no, maybe not my favorite episode. And I felt the same way after this one. It's probably not my overall favorite episode of Mandalorian so far, but another absolute killer episode. And I was wondering about how Robert Rodriguez would do, because Robert Rodriguez is a filmmaker who is hit and miss. He has made some very good films. He's made some very bad films. So he's a little bit hit and miss. He's not divisive or anything. He's just a little hit and miss. That's all. So you never quite know what you're going to get from him when it comes out. So it comes out and he killed it. He absolutely killed it. And I put on my Twitter today and I said, I changed the language just so it wouldn't spoil it for anybody who hadn't seen it yet. But I said, you know, even though you guys know me, I have not been excited for Boba Fett, right? I mean, it was cool seeing him in that one episode when he shows up for a second, but for years, I haven't really been interested in a standalone Boba Fett movie, really. I don't like when Star Wars shrinks the universe and all that kind of stuff. Same kind of issues I had with others before. So I've never really been that big on the idea. I like Boba Fett very much, like any Star Wars fan does, but I've never really wanted them to go back to him. But after watching that episode last night, I put out this tweet that said, Star Wars fans say, oh my gosh, Cobb and Bo-Katan and Ahsoka are so badass. And then Boba Fett says, hold my beer, children. Boba Fett, that scene was the most visceral, violent, badass scene we have had in Mandalorian so far. The fact that he was just with melee weapons, just wiping everybody out. And I heard some people joking online calling this chapter of Mandalorian chapter 15, John Wick. That's basically what it is. Boba Fett is John Wick. Boba Fett is John Wick, and he was just crushing fools and murdering people. And yeah, Bo-Katan took out some grunt fishermen, and Ahsoka took out some grunt Imperial like city guards and whatever. And these were just stormtroopers, granted, but still, it was awfully badass. Seeing Ming-Na Wen back was really cool. I don't really understand what's going on with the whole cyborg part of her now, but Whatever, I'll take it. It was good. This was the glorious, triumphant return of Boba Fett. Now, the one thing I will say that I didn't love about this episode, and it's just a minor thing, nobody get all pissy, it's just a minor thing, but it still should be pointed out, is that there was a little too much blatant, cheesy, little bit of fan service. Like, really? Did Boba Fett have to say the same line his dad said in the Star Wars prequel? I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe. Really? Would he have said that right there? It just felt forced. No pun intended, but that line felt forced, did not need to be used. And I get it. Your dad is Jango Fett. You don't have to keep repeating it. I get it. You know, you don't have to. Other than that, money. Absolute money. The only other question that it brought up for me, and I've heard other people ask it too, is if Boba was in such a rush and was so fixated on getting his armor back, why hadn't he taken it back from the Jawas? Why didn't he take it back from Cobb? Why did he have to wait for Mando to get it, chase him halfway across the galaxy to show up on a planet and give him this big speech? I am Boba Fett, son of Jango Fett. That was my father's armor, given to him by the Mandalorians as a foundling, blah, blah, blah. Okay, yes, you're dialoguing. I get it. Can we move on? But you know what? I don't care. There was this almost nobility. Like this presence of nobility about Boba Fett, almost like the way Morrissey, he played that character was when he was on screen and speaking, it commanded your attention. You know what I mean? I don't know how to quantify that other than say that whenever he was on screen and speaking, you felt like your attention was being commanded, you know? And I've never really looked at Boba Fett that way. It was just so great. The Baby Yoda thing, like Anne gets all cryy whenever Baby Yoda does something cute. And when Mando's like, okay, kid, we got to go. Turn around and he sees Baby Yoda on the stone. And he's like, why is he so cute? And the tears start coming and all that kind of stuff, right? It's completely adorable. Anyway. And then the Dark Troopers show up. Didn't really do much. Honestly, they look kind of cool, but we didn't really see them get to do anything, so that's fine, whatever. I'm sure we'll get around to seeing some pretty good stuff with them later, maybe in the next episode or episode 8. We'll have to wait and see. That was all fine. Going back to see Cara Dune, I get it, but he didn't know she had been made a Marshal of the Republic yet. So why did he go all the way back to that planet to see her, to talk to her about getting that dude, Burr, out of prison when he didn't know she was a Republic Marshal yet? So I don't know, that didn't quite make a lot of sense to me, but whatever. Maybe he was just going to ask her to help him break him out anyway. He's just getting a posse together. Mando is getting his posse together because this is an old-fashioned Western and it's going to be awesome. Then, of course, let me see if I can find this spot. Oh, yeah. Now, where is it? I know I had this image. Where did it go? Is it this one? No. Is it this one? I don't think so. Oh, no, it's this one. This is the one. So how awesome was it seeing Baby Yoda going like, and just like ripping apart stormtroopers? Like I said, how great was that? That was pretty badass. And of course, Moff Gideon knows, let's just wait for him to tucker himself out. That's cool. I got a feeling, though, when he showed that saber to little Baby Yoda, at some point we're going to see, I don't know. If you'd asked me before this episode, do I think we're going to see a saber in Baby Yoda's hands at some point? I'd say, no, we're not going to see a saber in Baby. Now I'm not so sure. I mean, we're going to see Mando fighting Moff Gideon, Darksaber versus Beskar Spear. We're going to see that fight for sure. But I got a feeling, man. We're going to see some little Baby Yoda. You can call him Grogu if you want, but we're going to see little Baby Yoda wrecking shop with a lightsaber. I don't know that for sure. I'm just taking some wild speculation at this, but it was great. Also, awesome to see Ming-Na Wen back again. I'm just a sucker for her, so put her in anything. But again, the whole presence of Boba Fett was so cool. And how can we not talk about for a second my gasp moment? I feel like almost every episode this season has had a major gasp moment. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, like sort of thing, whether it's Boba Fett turning around at the end of episode 1, whether it's Baby Yoda eating the eggs, whether it's Bo-Katan taking off her helmet, or whatever, there's a gasp moment in almost every single episode. And the gasp moment, the gasp moment of this episode was the destruction of the Razor Crest. R.I.P. late Razor Crest. We hardly knew you. We hardly knew you. And it's gone. Although, it can be said that, Razor Crest was on its last legs. Like, the Razor Crest has had the absolute shit kicked out of it in this series and has been put back together with, like, how many times has the Razor Crest had the shit kicked out of it? Where there has to be, how many episodes have had one big repair montage where they're like taping the damn thing back together again with duct tape and bubble gum. And it finally met its maker. It gets destroyed. It was like, so there's going to be big things. I wonder. Here's what I wonder. I won't be surprised if at the end of this, maybe Mando saves Boba's life and says, take the slave one. It's yours. She's yours. She's been with me a long time. It's time for me to get a new ship anyway. And you need a ship now. And you just saved my life. Here you go. And Mando's going to be flying around the slave one, right? All over the universe. I don't know that, but wouldn't that be a kick in the teeth if they did? I don't know what else to say, guys. I mean, it was, again, the violence was visceral. You had that whole Indiana Jones homage with the boulder rolling down the thing. And they're like, although I want to know, the stormtroopers are setting up the big Gatling gun, right? Sort of blaster. Manning went. Anyway, I'm going over that. She had a beat on them, right? She had a beat on them, and just looked at them as they pointed the gun at her. So I mean, she could have pulled the trigger and blown them away, but she didn't. But I don't know, it made for a better dramatic effect. But seeing the boulder rolling down the hill, a little bit of that. And then, of course, the big rush up the mountain. Of course, they had to make... I was wondering, why is Boba Fett telling him to take off his jetpack? Like, I would understand why Boba would say to Jango, like, put down your guns or whatever. Why did he tell him to take off his jetpack? Plot device, because they needed Mando to not have his jetpack at the end of the episode to fly up the hill. Little convenient, but whatever, we'll let that one pass. There it is. The episode was awesome. The episode was absolutely awesome. I completely loved it. I hope you guys did too. So I'll tell you what, guys, that's been me going on about this for about 12 minutes. Let's now go over and let you guys take it the rest of the way. You tell me what you guys want to talk about as far as Mandalorian goes, because we could be sitting here talking all day, talking about that episode. It was so freaking good. Okay, let's move into it here. Ryan Lohner writes, the greatest compliment I can pay this episode is that it made me interested in Boba for literally the first time ever. Yes, including Clone Wars. Hey, listen, I gotta say too, I have been very much in the mindset of, I don't care to see Boba Fett anymore. I loved him in the original trilogy, just like everybody else, but I feel no need for us to revisit Boba Fett. That has kind of been my frame of mind for years, for a long time. And I was all for it that they were bringing him into Mandalorian. After all, there's a show called The Mandalorian. But yeah, just like I had major reservations and apprehensions about Ahsoka being in the last episode, ended up really liking Ahsoka in that episode. Oh my God, Boba Fett is like, he's the man. They've now given substance. This is the quote. You can quote me on this. They have now given substance to the legend. Because for years, and I understand it, a lot of people say, what's the big deal about Boba Fett? We've never seen him do anything except accidentally get knocked into the Sarlacc pit, right? I mean, we've really never seen him do anything. Well, now we've had the legend without substance. Now they've given substance to the legend. Now when they say the name Boba Fett, you know why Harrison Ford, you know why Enrico Suave, you know why Han Solo looked so damn worried in Return of the Jedi when Chewie said Boba Fett's here. And like, Han was like, Boba Fett? Boba Fett? And he's like, look, now we know why Han Solo nearly pissed his pants at the sound of the name of Boba Fett. He is the Baba Yaga of the Star Wars universe. You mention his name, the most hardened of smugglers tremble in fear, and now we know why. Anyway, so I thought that was interesting. Right, next up, Ray Studios writes, John, I ordered my Boba Fett hot toy days ago, and this episode happens. I literally almost touched myself when with the shot reveal of Boba in his armor. I'll tell you what, I've got my Boba Fett hot toy up behind. I only have 4 hot toys. I only have 4 hot toys. And the reason I only have 4 hot toys is because if I buy any more, I'm going to end up having 20 and no money to pay for my new house. They're going to foreclose my house before I even move in. But one of the hot toys I have is a Boba Fett one, gifted to me by a friend, as a matter of fact. It's good when you have friends who accidentally ordered 2 and says, I don't want to go through the hassle of returning it. You want this one? I'm like, yes, please. That's how I got my Boba Fett. Anyway, so I can feel it, man. I can feel you. I totally feel you on that. All right, let's move on here. Next up, we've got Race Studios also writes, in Clone Wars, Almec, that's one of the cloners, not the Trandoshans, the Kaminoans, didn't know how Jango got the armor right, and now it's official. Maybe they're playing a little fast and loose with canon, but now it is canon. Jango Fett was Mandalorian, in the same sense that Din is Mandalorian. He was a foundling. So, while it has been said before that Jango wasn't Mandalorian, guess he was. And I guess by extension, Boba Fett kind of is too. Although it is important to note, it may mean something, it may not, but it's at least worth mentioning. Boba Fett never claimed himself, even in this episode, to himself be Mandalorian. His dad was. It was his dad's armor, but he never himself claimed to be Mandalorian himself. Maybe he does consider himself Mandalorian. Maybe he doesn't. We'll have to wait to see how that all how that all plays out. All right. Next up, Ryan Lohner writes, Luke arrives at Tython. Damn it, another butt call. Yeah, because listen, they made a pretty big deal. They made a pretty big deal out of that giant, smoke signal into the sky with the big ray of light. Kind of like, whatever that hotel is. What's the Pyramid Hotel in Vegas that has the giant light that goes out of the top and flashes into the sky? Anyway, that's basically what Baby Yoda did. Somebody's going to come looking. That signal went out. It was big. It was powerful. Somebody is going to come looking. So it leaves us now probably to wonder until the series finale. We're going to probably have to wait 2 weeks to find out who it is that indeed comes. The Luxor. Thanks, guys. Of course. Why did I forget the name of Luxor? I go to Vegas all the time. The Luxor is the name of the hotel. Beautiful hotel from the outside. Really interesting from the inside too, because the hotel is just this pyramid. So you go inside and it is shaped like this. And it's pretty cool. Anyway, they got this giant light at the top that just sends this incredibly powerful beam of light into the sky at night. It's really quite beautiful. And now that's what Baby Yoda does. Maybe Grogu is sitting in the top of the Luxor Hotel in Vegas. Maybe that's his side hustle. Who knows? All right. But we're going to have to wait now to find out who does come answering that call, but someone's going to come answering that call. All right. Rodolfo Riaz writes, hey, John, first time writing. Thanks a lot for that, Rodolfo. I appreciate that. How mad or sad were you and Ann when you saw Baby Yoda in shackles? Also saw your movie. It's awesome. Oh, dude, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And I definitely appreciate you giving me the opportunity to take a second and shamelessly plug my movie, my documentary, Movie Trailers, A Love Story. If you've ever wondered about this super popular thing amongst movie fans, movie trailers. How do they get made? Why did they get made? What's their history? What's the impact that they have? What goes into them? All that kind of stuff. Go and check out my documentary, available worldwide right now. I told you this was going to be a shameless plug. Available worldwide right now at vimeo.com/on-demand/movie trailers. And for those of you who live in the US or in the UK, you can also go and check it out on Amazon. Just search for movietrailers.com on Amazon, and Movie Trailers, A Love Story, I should say, on Amazon, and you should be able to find it there. Anyway, let's get back to your question, Sean. Enough with the shameless plugging. All right, I saw your thing and it was awesome. I'll tell you what, I'll be honest with you. Anne did not feel mad nor sad when they put baby shackles on Baby Yoda, because she was just almost in tears going, oh, look at the little shackles. He's got his own little shackles. It's like, honey, that's a symbol of him being a prisoner and a slave to the Empire now. They're so cute. So basically, the feeling around here was that they were so cute. They were so cute. Such adorable little handcuffs. I don't even want to know what that could mean, but adorable little handcuffs. So that was kind of the feelings there. But no, she was gripping onto the edge of the seat as Mando was rushing up the side of the hill and the dark troopers were closing in on Baby Yoda. That was thrilling. But then once he got on, the light freighter and he's whipping the stormtroopers around, they put the adorable little cups on him. Yeah, she just thought it was cute. Thought it was cute. I wish she was here right now. She could tell you all about it. Okay. Let's see. Massive Jada writes, Bill Burr plus season ends on the Jedi reveal. Yeah, I do believe Bill Burr we're going to see in the next episode. That's going to be the next thing. They're going to break him out and then try to track down where Moff Gideon's ship is. And I believe you're right, Massive. I believe episode 8 ends, or midway through, we get the Jedi reveal. Whoever that's going to be. I still have $5 on Ezra. Could be, there's other options, but I'm still thinking it's going to be Ezra. Ryan Lohner writes, something that always bugs me. Why even bother playing Fennec's return as any kind of surprise when you put her in the previously on sequence? Well, I think, here's the thing. Because I don't think they consider it a spoiler. I honestly think they don't consider it to be a spoiler. Right? It's not, Fennec being there isn't the surprise of it. That's not what's important. It's her role in the show. She was saved by Boba Fett. They've got a debt and they end up working on the same side. I mean, it's the story that's important, not the surprise kind of appearance by her. I believe they are setting up a surprise appearance by a Jedi that we're going to figure out. We're going to find out who it is later on. That'll be a surprise. But I don't think they consider Ming-Na Wen's return as a surprise. You know what I mean? So that's my explanation. I mean, you're right to wonder that. You're absolutely right to wonder that. But that's why I think they just kind of saw it that way. Let's see. Jose Garcia writes, with the Razor Crest gone, is it possible Mando takes Slave One if Boba Fett dies during the season? Oh, absolutely. And by the way, Boba Fett doesn't have to die for him to get it at the end of the season. Like I was just saying a little bit earlier that, they could end the season, Mando maybe ends up saving Boba Fett's life. And Boba Fett may, he's all honor and samurai, everything, right? He goes, honor demands that I give you something of value in return. Take Slave One. She's been a good ship. She has served me well. That's not how Boba Fett talks. I don't know why I'm talking like that. Anyway. So either Boba Fett dying and this Boba Fett series will be prior to the events of Mandalorian, or it'll be, who knows? But I think it is possible that Mando ends up with Slave One. I don't know if I like that idea or not, but it could be pretty cool. So that's kind of my thoughts on that. All right. Anthony R. writes, Boba's 42 years old, but Morrison is 58. De-aging CGI was not used, so they might write it off that the Sarlacc damaged his skin or that his cell structure is breaking down, causing rapid age growth. Is he 42? Yeah, I guess it wouldn't be much beyond that. You always forget that just how close, the events of Mandalorian are not all that far removed from the events of Return of the Jedi, right? They're really not all that far removed. So it kind of makes sense. It kind of makes sense. But can we talk again just for a second? I can just talk all day about this, about the sheer brutality, the artistry of violence that Boba Fett inflicted on these goober stormtroopers. I mean, it was vicious and violent, no mercy, no compassion, no prejudice. It's, you're the enemy. Sorry, you're dead. And he just wipes them out with a stick. He wipes them out with a stick. It's such a thing of beauty. I mean, I could just marvel and revel at that all day. Such an utter thing of beauty. Anyway. And yeah, they can just explain all the scars on his face. Maybe he just looks that way. It's a seasoned 42. And by the way, they don't actually come out and say what his actual age is, so we can imagine it to be whatever we want it to be, I suppose. All right, let's see. Good observation, though, Anthony. Next up, we got Senior Film Rights. In my opinion, Robert was the best director so far. Love the episode, and I'm glad Boba Fett finally had some street cred. This is cool by being an actual badass. I am not ready in any stretch of the imagination he did the best job. It was a lot of great action, but let's face it, there wasn't a lot of character moments. The most difficult directing to me is the character moments. It's the interactions. It's all that kind of stuff. That's why the final 2 episodes of last season stood out to me so much. Yeah, there was some great action, but it was all character moments. So while I will get behind the notion that Robert Rodriguez did a great job with this episode. He absolutely did. Just aced it. Best job of directing so far? No, I wouldn't go that far. I thought the directing, the Taika Waititi's an Academy Award winning filmmaker, so I mean, whatever. Taika Waititi, the good Canadian girl whose name keeps eluding me, who's going to be directing the Obi-Wan thing. I thought her episodes were extraordinarily directed, because it was a lot more with the character work in there too. So absolutely, the big thumbs up for Robert Rodriguez. Did he do the best job of directing so far? No, I don't think the job he did exceeded that we saw from Taika Waititi or again, my good Canadian girl, Deborah Chow. Thank you guys in the chat board. Can always rely on the people in the chat. Deborah Chow, good Canadian kid, and the job that she did. So that's just kind of my take on it. But yeah, he did a terrific job. David Tapia writes, love seeing the homage to Rodriguez's Desperado when Ming-Na jumped backwards while firing the gun. You know, I didn't put those two and two. I didn't put that together, but you might be right about that. They may have very much been a very deliberate homage. Also interesting, they filmed on location this episode. Yeah. So there were clearly some things. They interacted with the environment so much that you can't mimic that with stagecraft, right? They couldn't mimic that with stagecraft. Running up a hill, you can't simulate that with a giant screen, right? So they picked a very simple location with some kind of hill, and it just made it easier. Remember, the point of Mandalorian is not to do it with stagecraft. Stagecraft is just a tool to help making the show easier. But there will still be a lot of opportunities and a lot of times when actually going and finding a location to shoot on practically is the thing that makes it easier. And so, yeah, and you could feel it. You could feel it. That's not take away how great their stagecraft stuff is. It's absolutely phenomenal. But you could feel that little bit of difference of them actually being in a practical environment. Well, I'm sure there was probably some stuff done with green screen and with the stagecraft as well, though. So there's that as well. Okay, next up is Anthony, who writes, Bo-Katan, Ahsoka, Boba Fett alive. Oh boy, the hype is real. I just feel we are so close to Ezra and Thrawn coming into live action, a reality. No, you're probably right there, Anthony. And again, it's another one of those things where I got to admit, as a fan, I loved the episode. I mean, you can clearly tell from my enthusiasm that I loved the episode. But even in loving the episode, there's still that little concern I have. Guys, you're just making this too much like Star Wars, the greatest hits, right? I fear they may start to abandon some substance for the sake of fan service. I'm not saying that's what they've done so far. I'm just saying it makes me a little bit nervous, right? Like this season, like you said, we got the Slave One, we've got Bo-Katan, we've got Ahsoka Tano, we've got Boba Fett here, even Cobb. Granted, Cobb was only in the book, so give him a pass on Cobb. But back on Tatooine and all that kind of stuff, right? Like, whatever. But all those concerns aside, the episodes have been fantastic. And that, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. So we'll see where they go from there on that, Anthony. All right, next up is also Anthony, who writes, so who's ready for Mandalorian John Wick next week? Oh my God, please don't skimp on the John Wickisms for Boba Fett next week. Let Boba Fett go to town. Just let him go to town, please. I mean, look, there's plenty of stormtroopers to go around where Cara Dune can have some big flashy moments. Boba Fett can do his John Wick thing. Mando can show off. I mean, even if Grief, you want to bring in Carl Weathers again, let him do whatever. Plenty of stormtroopers to go. Well, actually, in this case, it wouldn't be stormtroopers. It'd be Republic officers, because Burr's in a Republic facility. But whatever. You can't tease us with those little flashes of brilliance from Boba Fett in one episode and not give us anything in the next episode. Right? Can't tease us that way. Can't tease us that way, damn it. All right, let's move on here. Let's see. Senor Film writes, I love that Bill Burr is coming back. He was a standout for me. I liked his episode too, as a matter of fact. These last episodes are about to go crazy, are about to go crazy. Who else do you see returning for the finale? Again, I don't want to see any more familiar faces. I understand we've got a Jedi character or a Force user character of some note that we probably will recognize and know, although it could still be somebody completely different. And I'm okay with that. But since we've already had Bo-Katan, since we've already had Ahsoka Tano, since we've already had Boba Fett, since we've already had the Slave One, and we visited Tatooine, and we see the little Snoke thing in the capsule, and we're going to get some recognizable Jedi figure, whether it's a Force ghost, or whether it's Ezra, or whether it's Cal, or whether it's Mace Windu returned from the dead, whatever. So please no more. Like that is enough. So I'm kind of hoping we can get through one episode next week where we don't add any new, completely already familiar faces. So just let's get through one more. Let's just get through one more. But I would put $5 on the Jedi character at the end being Ezra. But again, Cal's is an option. Mace Windu's an option. One of the Force Ghost Jedi is an option. Nobody showing up is an option. Well, but I would put my $5 on it being Ezra. We will see, though. We will see. All right, next up, Scott Kolanko. Scott Kolanko writes, great episode, though for me, I wish more CGI. Where'd we go? Oh, yeah. I wish more CGI work went into Tython and maybe break the frequently used trope of stormtroopers being so ineffective. Well, I mean, Tython was fine. I mean, you're going to have an old Jedi temple, which ended up just being 4 rocks on top of a hill. That was the temple. 4 rocks on top of a hill. Okay, whatever. So it's fine. I mean, look, a lot of these sci-fi, superhero, whatever shows, a lot of them take place in like forests and hills because they're easy to do, right? A lot of them do them in just forests. So I was fine. I didn't need to see some weird alien. I didn't need to see some weird alien environment, right? Just keep the focus on Mando, on Boba Fett, on Baby Yoda, Dark Troopers coming. That's enough. We didn't need to be in some exotic locale, at least to me. As far as the Stormtroopers go, I will say this. They had our heroes on their heels quite a bit, right? I mean, they really do. It's not like, what's the best way for me to put this? It's not like they had the heroes. It's okay. Here's what it is. It's not like in the original Star Wars where all Han Solo and Chewie had to do was go run after them and an entire platoon of them turn around and run, right? For a lot of the episode, our heroes, they were on their heels. The Stormtroopers had them backing up, right? They were kind of in a fall back thing. And they actually gave them a fight. I'll give the Stormtroopers that. They gave our heroes a fight. Until Boba Fett decided to make things serious. Once Boba Fett decided to make things serious, well, then they did the whole, Holy Grail thing. Run away, bravely ran away. And they run into their ships, and then Boba Fett takes out their ships. One of my favorite lines in the episode is actually Boba Fett saying, "I was aiming for the other ship," which I thought was kind of a funny line. I thought that one was kind of well said. So come on, man. Give the troopers their due. Give them some credit where it's due. All right. Mike Riff writes, theory. All right. Windu is the one who saved Grogu from Order 66 and is the one who shows up, who has an instant bond with the child. I would like to see Boba's interaction with Windu since he saw him kill his father in front of him. Oh, you know what, Mike? I hadn't even thought of that. With the added dynamic of promising to protect the child, thoughts. I'll tell you what, Mike, that is one of the best thought out theories so far. That's one of the best thought out theories so far. Think about that. Windu goes flying out the window, handless, armless, survives somehow, thinks I've got to try to warn the other Jedi or save the younglings or whatever, gets to the temple. It's almost too late. Most of the younglings have been killed. He finds the one that's still alive and his Baby Yoda, sneaks him out of the temple and gets him away. He now shows back up years later. He shows back up now years later. And you're right. The dynamic of this is the same guy. So that would give him a connection with Grogu. And it's the guy Boba watched decapitate his dad. Now there is some character moments possibilities, right? There is your character moments. That is a great theory. That is a great theory. I still don't think that's what they're going to do. But what you're proposing sounds awesome. Man, you know what? My number one thing is still Ezra, but I think Mace has jumped from my number 4 spot, maybe up to my number 2 spot on most likely scenarios. Because that is great. I didn't even consider the Boba Fett connection. That's gold, man. That's gold. Let's see how that turns out. All right. Guaca Foley writes, when the episode introduced the name The Tragedy, is it bad that my mind immediately went to Darth Plagueis the Wise? No, it's not bad that your mind went there. Have you ever heard the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? Yes, 20 times. Shut up. Anyway, so no, I just thought, oh my God, somebody dies. And Robert and I had a disagreement earlier today. We were talking, it's like, I still think the tragedy was the fact that Baby Yoda got captured. He thinks the tragedy was a reference to the destruction of the Razor Crest, which I mean, it's a ship. It's a ship. It's a ship that's had the snot kicked out of it and was falling apart anyway, but it was a ship. So I don't know. There's that. So no, I can see why your mind went there. I can see why your mind went there. All right. Who's next? We again have Guaca Foley. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, however you intended to be pronounced. Din recently saying, Dank Farrick gives me too many flashbacks of Zeb repeatedly saying, Karabast. I love this show. I'm excited for more. I mean, that's one of the things about Mandalorian is that it peppers in a lot of blatant fan service, but it also peppers in things that we can speculate about and think about and allow our imaginations to run wild. But I'll tell you, man, I've really enjoyed this movie or this series. You know, it reminds me a lot of when, look, Rebels had some hit and miss. There was some episodes of Rebels that weren't great, but overall, I really enjoyed Rebels. And Mandalorian gives me the same feeling Rebels did. When I was watching Rebels, because you got to remember, I was not a fan of Clone Wars. I was not a fan of the prequels. It had been a long time for me since I felt like I was in Star Wars again, that I was home. You know, that something really felt like Star Wars to me. It had been a while. And when Rebels debuted, I remember Harloff gave me a call because we were both going to, he knew I was watching it that night at home. And so Christian gave me a call and he's like, well, and I'm like, it felt like Star Wars, man. And it had been a long time for me that something felt like Star Wars. Since then, Force Awakens totally felt like Star Wars to me. Rogue One felt completely like Star Wars to me. And Rise of Skywalker, whatever. Don't even get me going on that. But Mandalorian feels like Star Wars to me. While being very unlike a lot of Star Wars stuff, like Star Wars is often the grand adventure, but there's something in the DNA of the universe, right? And even though this show is done very differently than what traditional Star Wars is done, it feels so true to Star Wars at the same time. And that to me is one of the reasons why I've been really enjoying it. That's why I really enjoy it. All right, next up. Casinema Reviews writes, prediction. In the next episode or two, Din will be looking for Grogu on Gideon's ship, grabs an Imperial, and accidentally says, "Where's my son?" No. And I think that would, I don't know that would feel cool either. Maybe after season 5 or 6, but I don't feel like they've got that kind of, I think he feels very connected to the baby. He's obviously very attached, but where's my son? I don't think so. I don't, but who knows? We'll see. Hoser Miaz writes, will Grogu get the Darksaber? I don't think the Darksaber, but like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point if he was actually in the Jedi Academy, at some point he had a little lightsaber in his hand. I won't be surprised at all if we get a little lightsaber, but I don't think he's going to wield the Darksaber. Jack Wolf writes, over under 10% Grogu goes to the dark side. I'm going to go under on that. Although we saw him doing some very dark sidey things, but remember he's a baby, right? Baby having a little temper tantrum. That's all. Baby having a little forced temper tantrum. maybe he murdered some people. I'm not sure. They didn't explicitly say he murdered those stormtroopers, although there's a very good chance with what he was doing to them that they could be dead. Best case scenario, very bad concussion. Will have to go into the NFL concussions protocol. Probably have to be out for a few weeks. But might have murdered them. My Baby Yoda might have done a little bit of murder. But he's just a baby, so I'm going to go no on the dark side stuff. Okay, let's see. What else is next? Frost 1977 writes, Mando's rifle reminds me of an old Sharps, FYI, of an old Sharps. Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. FYI, the rifle used in Quigley Down Under was a Sharps. And odds, Ming-Na stays Boba's partner in the Boba Fett series. That, to me, is that's something Ann and I talked about after the thing was done, was that it kind of felt like this was a de facto pilot for a Boba Fett series, a limited one-time only series. And it would all depend on what the timing is. Because I believe there is a possibility Boba Fett dies in this. And the reason they're calling this Boba Fett series a limited series, which means one season, is maybe it's just a series of the events of Boba Fett climbing out of the Sarlacc pit and what happens between then and when he finds out Mando has his armor. If that's the case, then you could have Ming-Na Wen come into it when he finds her, in the Tatooine desert, left for dead. So that would make more sense. But, either way, I think there's a good chance. If it moves forward, I think there's a very good chance. You bring in an actress like Ming-Na Wen to do something substantial, I think. And they're clearly showing they're developing this character. So I would say it's a good 50-50 shot. I think it's a good 50-50 shot, but that's just me. All right. Next up. Jake Walsh writes, seeing Boba in action being a badass fulfilled something that was definitely missing from Star Wars. Also, I grew up in Temecula, California. I play some poker in Temecula. There's a place there called the Pechanga Casino and Resort, one of the biggest casinos in California. I love playing poker there. Temecula is a beautiful town. It's only about 30 minutes from Ann's family's house in Corona, California. I love Temecula. Anyway. Sorry, I grew up in Temecula, California, and Tython looks a lot like the mountains down there. Oh, you're absolutely right about that. It does look a lot like the mountains down there. And like I was saying before, one of the cool things about this episode, again, it gives substance to the legend, right? Substance to the legend. That is key. Again, it can't be overstated that for a long time, what we had was... we had a lot of legend. Why is he so popular? And now we know. Why does Han look like he's going to piss himself at the sound of Boba Fett's name? Now we know. That was a very, very key part. So I completely agree with you on that, man. I really do. Let's see. That was Jake Walsh right there. And again, I love Temecula. It's beautiful there. It's absolutely beautiful there. Okay, next up. Jake Walsh also writes, also a great Raiders of the Lost Ark homage with the boulder. Absolutely. With the boulder. Do you guys think we will see Cobb Vanth again? Really hope we do. I do, as a matter of fact. Now, I don't know. Look, I told you guys a number of things that were going to happen in the season. I was made aware of a lot of stuff in this season, including, you remember a number of weeks ago, I told you, you're going to see Slave 1 this season. You're going to see Slave 1. Anyway, but I specifically did not want to know everything. So I don't know if Cobb Vanth comes back. I don't know. I believe he will. I believe he will. I believe Mando is going to round up a posse. Going back to the old Western adage. And I think we're going to see Bo-Katan. Again, I don't know this. I'm giving my theory here. I think we're going to see Bo-Katan. I think we're going to see those other Mandalorians. I think we're going to see Cobb. I do think we're going to see him. Again, I don't know this, but I think you're on the right path there. I do think that's what's going to happen. All right. Amish00 writes, makes sense while Almec, Prime Minister from Clone Wars, doesn't consider Jango a Mandalorian. He would be the type who hates foundlings. I guess you would. Why do you need real kids when you can have good old clones? Ah, yes. Yeah, you're right. You're right. But again, that's just kind of getting semantic with they're rewriting canon a little bit, but that's fine. It's a tiny little thing. We don't worry about that. All right. Timothy Platt writes, a pissed off Mando and a pissed off Boba Fett is the combination I didn't know I needed. Oh my God. Listen, imagine this. We get into episode 8, and they do gather together that little posse. And Cara Dune, Grieve, all those other, Cobb aside, having the Mandalorian, Boba Fett, Bo-Katan, her 2 companions, you got 5 Mandalorians there, like badass Mandalorians going to war, and they're all pissed. Boba, just because Boba Fett is like Dr. Banner in Avengers, he's always angry. Din, because you took the child. Bo-Katan, because she wants Moff Gideon's blood. And that Darksaber bat. You get 5 highly skilled, badass Mandalorians staring down 1,000 Imperial troopers. I got my money on the Mandalorians, dude. I got my, and then whatever Jedi character shows up, like whoever that's going to be. That's going to be pretty badass, man. Okay. Next up, Ben Burnside writes, I have been waiting for this Boba Fett appearance for like a year and a half, and it was awesome. Best moment of Mandalorian, in my opinion. I don't know if I call it the best moment. Again, my favorite moments really tend to be more character stuff. I have spoken. I mean, there's stuff there, whether it's the sacrifice of IG-11. There have been amazing moments. But I will go this far. I'll say Boba Fett's badassness was the most badass moment in that. Him just wrecking all those guys was the most badass moment to me of Mandalorian so far. Even more than IG-11 wiping out a lot of dudes. I thought it was the most badass. So I don't know if it's my favorite moment, but it was a good one. It was a lot of fun. All right. Next up, Ben Burnside also writes, when you saw Boba Fett in his armor, I legit jumped out of my seat and yelled, forgetting that people were sleeping. It's so great finally seeing Boba. Oh, dude, listen, again, and as somebody who has not been looking forward to Boba Fett's return, seeing him walk around, coming into camera view in the classic Boba Fett armor, I don't care how much of a doubter you were, or I was. That moment gives you chills. If you're a Star Wars fan, that moment gives you chills. Even if I wonder, why didn't he just get it when it was on Tatooine? Whatever, doesn't matter. When he comes into camera wearing the classic Boba Fett armor, dude, you got to have at least chills. At least chills. So yeah, I can, if I maybe I did yell, I wouldn't know. It was just Ann and me in the house, and we were both up watching Mandalorian, so I was perfectly safe. But yeah, dude, I definitely got the chills. At the very least, I got the chills. All right, next up, Amage00 writes, Gideon has Baby Yoda sized shackles? He thinks ahead, man. He thinks ahead. That's the most evil thing the Empire has done since they killed that Ewok in Return of the Jedi. I mean, all right, you never know when you got to question a baby, right? That's all. Empire's just being prepared. There's nothing nefarious there. He's just got, what happens if he's Yoda? Maybe at one point they had to arrest somebody from Babu Freak's, species. There are little species. You gotta be prepared. Little handcuffs. Gotta have the little handcuffs. It is convenient, though. I'm gonna give you that. It was awfully convenient that they had those things around. Gareth Tucson writes, I just watched Return of Revenge of the Jedi. Wait a second. Revenge of the Sith. Obi-Wan goes to Padme. Until Yoda sees Palpatine, you don't see where he is. He probably found Grogu in the temple. P.S. Boba was great. I don't know about that. I mean, you're right. Listen, in a court of law, motive and opportunity, right? Motive, absolutely. He cares for the younglings. Opportunity, there might be some opportunity there. There might have been some opportunity there. We do see him go to the temple. We see him like wiping out stormtroopers in front of it, right? Clone troopers in front of it. So there's a possibility. There's opportunity. Not the craziest theory. I don't personally buy it, but not the craziest theory I've heard so far. Let's see here. What's next? That was Gareth. Next up, we've got Ben Burnside writes, the temple on Tython was oddly easy to access. It really was. No hidden doors, no scary hallucinations, nothing to fight, no maze-like infrastructure, just a rock. And hey, listen, It's a temple. It's not a military headquarters. It's just a temple. And what's there to take? It's just a bunch of rocks sitting there, right? Unless you're a Force user, you have no idea about anything. And listen, I'm not going to lie to you. In even things like Rebels, whatever, when they've tried to go, or in Legends stuff, when they're trying to get into a old Jedi temple, an abandoned ancient Jedi temple, yeah, there's usually more of a struggle. This was, there it is. Although I had to laugh. And I said this to Anne when it was happening. They arrive at the planet. Boba Fett had no idea where to go. No, it's a planet. All right, it's not a neighborhood. It's a planet. And he just flies down. Oh, I'm just going to look around for a temple. Hey, look, there's some rocks on top of a hill. I'm guessing that's where we're going. It's like, really? As far as I know, he was given no exact coordinates. He just flew to the planet and thought, I'll just drive around and look for it. And maybe I'll get lucky. But again, whatever. It just made it convenient. I'm fine with that. Let's see here. EJ Aikman writes, now I finally understand why Han Solo was so scared of just hearing Boba Fett's name at all that time ago. Dude, great minds think alike, man. I was just saying the exact same thing. Absolutely. Again, they have now given substance to the legend. And I've said it 10 times already. I'll probably say it 30 or 40 more times today. That Boba Fett stuff gave substance to the legend. And now we understand better the whole legend of Boba Fett in the original stuff, and now it gives us new pathways for the growing legends of Boba Fett as we move forward. And yeah, now we get it. That's why Han Solo freaked the hell out at the sound of his name. This hardened smuggler freaked out. Okay, where are we at here? We're at Ben Burnside, who writes, when Boba was flying under the giant ship, I was really scared for a second. I thought a missile was going to shoot and destroy the ship. I'm not going to lie to you. I kind of thought that a little bit myself. It's like when he goes, oh no, it's the Empire. They're back. First of all, can I also say this? Of course the Empire's back. You just fought 2 squadrons of them landing in Imperial shuttles, come running out, stormtroopers, but you had to see the ship to know that the Empire was back? Okay, whatever. Again, it's a little thing. It's just a little thing, but still but yeah, when he was up there, he said kind of the stereotypical line you would expect somebody who's about to die in a movie to say, right? Like he says, the Empire, they're back. I'm seeing it with my own eyes. And then he turns the ship around to run away. In a lot of different movies or shows, that's when a hero gets blown out of the sky. So I wouldn't have been surprised if that happened, man. I would not have been surprised. Operation Spider writes, so Jango Fett is a legit Mandalorian now. I guess so. Yeah, I mean, that's the implication. He was a foundling. He's every bit a Mandalorian as Din himself is. So I guess that's what they're going with now. Ultranaut writes, Boba needs a gym membership. I don't know, man. Boba, I mean, he may have been eating a few wampas, whatever. But he clearly looked like he was moving pretty good. He was moving pretty good. Cass Graphs writes, Boba Fett's new theme music, John, I got chills hearing. Yeah, it sounded great. And there are overtures of the original Boba Fett music as well. But no, it sounded wonderful. It sounded great. Look, one of the great things, one of the underappreciated things about Mandalorian is the soundtrack throughout the show. Even though a lot of it is a riff on that core Mandalorian theme, it's always appropriate. They always know the right kind of music to play at the right time, right? The right kind of music to play at the right time. That has been a key thing about the show this entire time. And so, and this episode was no exception to that. No exception to that at all. Patrick Conway writes, do only seeing the movies. I never understood the hype for Boba Fett. Now I do. Holy crap, bring on his spinoff. I agree. And I am curious to see, again, where are they going to go with this spinoff? They say it's going to be 1 season only. So that means it could be prequel, like from the time he gets out of the Sarlacc to the time he meets Din. Maybe that's it. Or it could be after the events of Mandalorian. I mean, obviously, if he dies in the next couple of episodes, that kind of writes off any possibility that it'll be a sequel to The Mandalorian. But we'll see. We'll see. My money right now is probably guessing it's a prequel to Mandalorian. It happens after the events of Return of the Jedi, but just before the events of Mandalorian. That's my guess. But I have nothing to back that up with. JJ Aguilar writes, I like the Indiana Jones and the Iron Man 3. There's a lot of Iron Man 3-isms in there, isn't it? And I agree that as soon as that boulder started to roll, I half expected to hear dun 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 dun. I just kind of half expected to hear that music in the back of my head. All right, Muhammad Ibrahim writes, always thought Boba Fett was overrated. After today, I see what all the hype was about. I cannot wait for his show. P.S. Thanks for all the entertainment. Well, thanks for being here, Muhammad. I appreciate that, man. Yeah, listen, again, to me, I have never worried about the legend of Boba Fett. Obviously, he was an incredibly gifted bounty hunter. He was the only, and he wasn't just a great warrior. He could think. He's the only one who thought how to track down and capture Han and Leia and Chewie. Floating, he knew what his quarry would do. He knew that they would just try to float away at the garbage, and he was ready for it, followed them, got them. So, and he just had to understood. He's obviously, he's employed by the Empire. The great Jabba the Hutt himself employed him. Obviously, he's a great badass. We never got to see it in action, but I've always been fine with that. But to now see it in action, for them to give us a manifestation on screen of that badassness is completely key. Completely key. It's one of those things that will make you now go back to the original movies and see it a little bit differently. And see when Boba Fett is in Jabba's chamber and just has his gun like this and just gives the little nod, you know, whoo, suddenly now that's chilling. Suddenly now that's chilling. It'll alter our perception of the character, even in the older stuff. It was great. Let's see. Mr. Donut tipped in a $20 super chat. Thank you so much for that, Mr. Donut. Thanks for the support, dude. The real question is, how excited are you for Bill Burr returning? Keep up the show, my guy. Greetings from the Netherlands. Well, thank you so much for that, man. Hey, listen, I'm looking forward to it. Look, is the Bill Burr character, was that my favorite episode that he appeared in of Mandalorian? No, not my favorite episode. Although it was pretty cool that Bobby from Sons of Anarchy was in that episode too. I wish we could have had a little bit more of him. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I did like the character. I thought it was a good character. It's going to be cool to see where they go from here. Again, wasn't my favorite character. It's not like I'm jumping up and down about seeing that character again. Kind of the way as I was about seeing, you know, Carl Weathers and Cara Dune, to see them back again, and Gina Carano. I was very excited about their return to the show. But no, it's going to be cool. As soon as they brought up his picture, you're like, oh, okay, I see where they're going with this. And it's not just to bring him back for the sake of bringing him back, right? The key to it is that they've already introduced the narrative purpose for bringing him back. There's a reason the story needs him there. And therefore, that always makes it a lot more palatable. And therefore, when it's palatable, it can be very enjoyable. And so, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. I like what they're doing. I think I smell what they're cooking. All right. Double Crit writes, who would win, Stormtrooper armor or a metal stick? Well, apparently, the answer to that is a metal stick. Although I do have to ask, what good is the Stormtrooper armor, really? Like in the Star Wars role-playing game, which you can see the blue book right there. That's the core rule book for the Star Wars role-playing game. The West End Games D6 system. Best role-playing game system ever. I absolutely love it. Anyway. You know, they say that, you know, Stormtrooper armor is really better against physical attacks as opposed to blaster. Because really, what good is Stormtrooper armor? I've never seen it help them from getting shot. Like when they get shot, they die as if they were naked. And apparently it doesn't help them too much when you got a badass bounty hunter hitting them in the head with a stick. It doesn't seem to help them too much. That armor doesn't seem... I think they got ripped off. I think they need to return that armor. I think they need to return the armor. They got ripped off. All right, next up. Jeff Howerton writes, who would have ever thought Southeast California / Southwest Arizona was a Jedi planet? It totally looked like that, didn't it? Totally looked like Temecula, Arizona. It kind of looked a little bit like where they shot, what's the name of it? Mars. Oh, I forget the name of the movie. Whatever. It totally looked like that. And I don't know for sure if that's where they shot it, but I wouldn't be surprised. John Carter of Mars is what I'm thinking. John Carter of Mars. It totally looks like that exact place. All right. Scar CRS writes, Wouldn't be surprised if Grogu doesn't get rescued this season. Also, it would make sense if Luke sensed Grogu and sends a new Jedi we haven't seen yet. That is also very possible because, we've talked a lot about the idea about at this period of time, Luke is out there, right? Luke is out there at this period of time, going around the galaxy just at the beginning stages of trying to put the Jedi Academy back together. So it would make sense. And it would also make sense that Luke himself does not go there, because I don't think we're going to see Mark Hamill there. And I don't know, but I don't think we're going to see Sebastian Stan as a young Luke Skywalker, although nothing's impossible. But it would make sense that a Jedi we've never seen before who was sent by Master Luke, that could be a possibility. I like it. I like that line of thinking, man. All right, next up. Patrick Conway writes, I enjoy the screams of the stormtroopers being killed by Fett, Mando, the cavalry. That's right, she's the cavalry, and Baby Yoda way too much and hope grief next week. There is something viscerally satisfying about hearing the bad guys scream, isn't there? I don't want to sound like a sadist or anything, but there is something kind of viscerally satisfying. A little Willem scream in there as well, thrown in just for good measure. Let's see. Geekpool. Is that next up? Yes, Geekpool writes. 1. Mando gets a new Razor Crest. 2. Mando gets a different ship. 3. After Boba Fett's series, Mando shows up and Boba dies. Mando takes Slave 1. I don't know that he takes Slave 1 per se, but I can totally see him ending up with Slave 1. Again, I don't know that that's what happens. I have no proof that that's what happens. This is just me fan speculating. But yeah, I could totally see it. I can totally see him ending up with Slave 1. Whether it's as it's gifted to him by Boba Fett, whether it's bequeathed to him as a result of the death of Boba Fett, I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised if that's exactly what they do. I would not be surprised at all, Geekpool, if that's exactly what they do. All right, Bryce Evans writes, did you think the reported Boba Fett series will cover his time before we see him in The Mandalorian? Well, right now, Bryce, that is the $1 million question, right? That is the $1 million question. Will this upcoming series, by the way, we still haven't heard Lucasfilm confirm that report from Deadline. I do believe it. If I had to bet but honestly, I don't know, but if I had to bet $5 right now, will this Mando series take place after, or this Boba Fett series take place after the events of Mandalorian Season 2, or will it take prior to the events of Mandalorian Season 2? If I had to bet $5, I would bet on prior to the events of Mandalorian Season 2. Prior to the events of him coming to Tython and confronting Mando. Maybe it starts with him finding, Wen in the desert. Maybe it starts with him crawling out of the Sarlacc pit. I don't know. And again, I don't feel confident about that, but I'm just saying, if I had to pick one, I'm guessing that's the one they're going to do. All right. Jeff Henderson just sends in a couple of super chats to be supportive. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate that, man. All right. Sean Stewart writes, did you sense Grogu tapping into the Force, the dark side of the Force? Maybe after Ahsoka comments that he could go down a dark path. You know what? I don't think so. Here's what I think, and I could be completely wrong about this. But I think a lot of us viewers forget that essentially this is still a baby, right? This is still a baby. So everybody who got all mad that Grogu ate several of Frog Lady's eggs. These weren't moral choices that Baby Yoda was making. He's a baby, right? And Baby threw a tantrum. People were there, took him away from where he wanted to be. And, he's going to wreck a little bit of shop. Maybe that's Baby Yoda language for, I'm going to fuck you up, bitch. Start throwing the stormtrooper all over the place. Maybe that's exactly what he was thinking. I don't know, but I don't think it's dark side enabling. Again, to me, it's just a baby doing what babies do. So, but you never know. Maybe Ahsoka introduced that whole concept, and maybe there's a reason for that. All right, Jeff Henderson writes, Boba Fett is the unlikable boss in Jedi Knight Jedi Academy game on one level. Already knew he was kick-ass. Well, remember though, that game isn't canon, nor I do not believe it was canonized. I'm pretty positive it wasn't canonized. But it's always good to see it in actual screen, right? You can read about stuff in books. You can play it out in a game, but it's until they actually put it on screen that's where it kind of becomes real, right? And again, it's manifesting, it's materializing the legend, right? It's giving substance to the legend, and that's what it did. And again, it's a phrase I used a lot today, but it's totally applicable. It's totally applicable. It was so good. All right. Zara Francisco writes, from Guru's point of view, Mando looks like he gave him up. Worries me, especially after Ahsoka's talk about fear and anger. I see a major tantrum coming up. You know what? That might not be crazy. That might not be crazy. I mean, really think about it. From Baby Yoda's perspective, I mean, we saw, as the audience, we got to see all the action happening, right? Like, we got to see what was happening. As far as Baby Yoda's concerned, he's like, all right, you want me to do the thing with the rock and tap into the Force. Okay. And then he wakes up. Yo, where'd you go? And these guys are taking me away. Now, maybe Baby Yoda saw then, Mando get up to the top of the mountain and was trying to get him back. Maybe. But maybe they need to have a serious heart-to-heart when it's all done. Maybe he gets upset by that. All right. Jonathan C. writes, Who do you think saved Grogu? My bet is Mace Windu, since he was the only one that knew at the time Palpatine was the Sith Lord. Your thoughts? Again, that is something we touched on earlier. The theory that somebody else put in a little bit earlier, to me, is fascinating and introduces some elements I had not considered. All right. Number one, Mace gets baby, because falls, survives, gets the baby out, already has a connection, shows up in episode 8. There's already that character connection, but now it has the additional narrative bonus that he's got a narrative connection with Boba Fett, because Boba Fett saw that dude decapitate his father. The potential there for so much inner character narrative is pretty rich. It's hard to ignore. I still think Ezra's the one who showed up. But like, if it's not Mace Windu, let's say Ezra shows up at the end. Ezra's not the one who got baby Yoda out of the temple, obviously. So let's say, okay, Ezra does show up at the end. All right, that still leaves the question, who got him out? Some people saying, oh, it was Anakin. No. After Anakin turned to Vader, I don't see that happening. I don't know. But I'll tell you what, this Mace Windu theory continues to grow on me. From all of what you guys are saying, it's growing on me more and more of the stuff that you guys bring up. So, and maybe it's a mix. Maybe Mace Windu did survive the fall initially, but maybe he was dying from the fall, and his last thing was to get that one last surviving youngling out of the temple. And then he dies, and Ezra shows up later. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities there, but I'm telling you, that Mace Windu theory is growing on me a lot more than it used to be. All right, let's see. Leo Liang writes, Baby Yoda wielding the Darksaber. Let's make it happen. I don't know. I think it would look incredibly awkward. I think it would look incredibly awkward in Baby Yoda's hands. The Darksaber hilt is about half the size of Baby Yoda's body. So I don't see that. I could see Baby Yoda having a little tiny baby lightsaber. I could totally see that. Maybe we do see that in his hands. I think it would be very, very awkward trying to see the Darksaber in Baby Yoda's hands. That Darksaber is going to be in Moff Gideon's hands as Mando fights him with the Beskar saber, or the Beskar spear, I should say. But I'm telling you, the idea is growing on me that we get to see a little baby lightsaber in Baby Yoda's hands at some point. All right, next up. Mickey Altieri writes, completely random thought, but over under 10%, there's someone in this world that gets mad every time they see the word Mandalorian because it has Ryan in it. Oh, I get it. Rian. Yeah, the people need to get over the Ryan Johnson stuff. Let's see. Ted Wren writes, I never really understood the appeal of Boba Fett. All seemed light. I think I would have thought different if this was the Boba Fett I got to know. But again, see, my argument has always been, when people would ask me over the years, what's the big deal with Boba Fett? We never even saw him do anything. To me, that was kind of essential to the badass reputation of Boba Fett, is the fact that so much of it remained a mystery. But like, for me as a viewer, it was enough to know that when Vader needed somebody to track somebody down, and he only gets the cream of the crop, Boba Fett was one of those dudes. And he knows he's so vicious. He went to Boba Fett and said, "No disintegrations," right? He knew he had to, "Hey, listen, Boba Fett, I know you got a rep, so, need him alive if you don't mind. He's no good to me dead." Anyway. And Jabba the Hutt's only going to have the best of the best. Poor Greedo, though. He's only going to have the best of the best. So, I mean, with all of that, it was good enough to know we didn't need to see him do anything, right? Like, to me, we never needed to see him do anything. But seeing him do something in the way they had him do something in this thing just fleshes all that out completely. So I see where you're coming from on that, Teddy. I totally do. All right, Dominic Suma writes, "John, I'm loving this season so far. You and me both, man. If not for Boba's reveal in episode 1, that shot of the Slave One first appearing here would have made me audibly gasp." Oh, no, absolutely. But, because you're right. If we had never seen Boba Fett yet, and he hadn't shown up in the show, they didn't do that last shot at the end of episode 1 of Boba Fett turning around. And our very first clue was seeing the Slave One flying down into the Tython sky. That would have been, the galaxy would have suddenly erupted in joygasms, right? Nerds' underwear across the world would have had to have been changed instantaneously. Absolutely. But it was still an awesome sight nonetheless, right? Like, we still got a huge, pretty big joygasm out of seeing that thing drop down out of the sky. All right, next up. Mr. Donut writes, "If Boba and Mando part ways and Mando is alone for a bit, you think we're going to see some scenes without the helmet?" I don't know. I'm good with him not taking off the helmet. Like, listen, that is a lifelong path of the strictest of disciplines to never take off that helmet unless he's completely alone, right? So I don't know. Now, he's met new Mandalorians that have said there's a different way, both Bo-Katan and now Boba Fett. Although, I'm not even sure if Boba Fett identifies himself as being Mandalorian. No, I don't think we ever do see him a lot without the helmet. I think we will see 1 or 2 more scenes of him without the helmet, but I don't think we're going to see a lot of him without the helmet, and I'm good that way. I'm totally good with that, to be honest with you myself. All right. Where are we at? Alexander Kent writes, "When Jango dies in front of Boba, you see that passion to honor him begin in episode 2. That's why he speaks highly of him and keeps his agreement." Oh, no, absolutely. Absolutely. Like, one of the things that the prequels did well, and they didn't do a lot well, but one of the things the prequel did well was you totally felt the bond between Boba and Jango. Boba loved his dad. Boba idolized his dad. Like, even was saying, "Yeah, Dad, get him, Dad," like all that nonsense. But it did show that this kid really loves his dad. And that there's a bond there. And even after, Jango gets decapitated and they go to Boba's face, like, they totally made you feel that. And you got to give props for that. They totally made you feel it. And so I think that could, if Mace Windu comes back into play, that could be very significant. Cinema Reviews writes, "I suddenly hope David Leitch directs a season 3 episode. Oh my God, can you imagine? Only if Boba's there, though. Only if Boba's there." Mahada Ibrahim writes, "Mando lost Grogu. I expect some John Wick from him too." Oh, absolutely. "You took my puppy. You took my baby Yoda. I'm going to kill all of you. You're all dead." Now, he really does seem more rescue mission focused than vengeance focused like a John Wick, but that doesn't mean we ain't going to see Boba Fett wrecking a lot of fools. All right, next up, we see Cool657124 writes, "We will see Kyle Katarn, most definitely. Don't discount it." I'll be honest with you, man. Off the top of my head, I can't remember who that is. Off the top of my head, the name sounds familiar. I cannot remember that. I'm gonna look it up. I feel weird that I cannot remember the name. Was that from the New Order? Oh, he was one of the original stormtroopers that defected to become a Jedi. Interesting. No, I doubt it. Although, I'll remember this, Schools. I'll remember if he does show up. I'll remember, hey, I said it wasn't going to happen, but this one guy in the live chat, cool, said it would, and I will remember this. But no, I don't think he will. But we'll see. Carl's Rogers writes, Baby Yoda used the dark side against the stormtroopers at the end, didn't he? He has been trained by a Sith, maybe? No, listen. There's nothing. He just used telekinesis, which is not. They don't call it telekinesis, but that's neither a light nor dark force thing, right? Throwing an object across a room is not a dark side power. It's the exact same power he used to float the metal ball to his hand. It's just telekinesis. But he was acting in anger. But again, to me, and maybe we'll get into episode 7 and 8 and find out it is more of a real thing. But to me right now, this is still a baby doing baby things. And babies throw tantrums. It doesn't mean they're getting into the dark side necessarily. So I disagree. Now, again, I don't know that for a fact. We might get further into the season and find out that, ooh, actually, little baby Yoda is tapping into the dark side. Well, maybe we'll find that out. But honestly, for me, the simplest answer is it's a baby just kind of doing baby things. So I don't think there's really much worry about that. Carl, we didn't see Baby Yoda shoot. Now, look, if Baby Yoda starts shooting force lightning out of his hands, then we have a different discussion. Then we have to have a different conversation. But yeah, doing some standard force use stuff of telekinesis, I'm not too worried about it at this point. All right, Carl Wolf writes, my wife thinks Baby Yoda set up Mando with the jetpack because he knew the Empire was coming. It's not the most ridiculous theory. I mean, maybe in a way, but I mean, Boba Fett seemed legitimately surprised. He seemed legitimately surprised. Both when the trooper showed up, but also when he flew up and saw the ship there, he seemed legitimately surprised. So for that, again, I don't think it's the craziest theory in the world, but for those things, for those reasons, I don't think that's what happened. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but yeah, my guess is that's not what happened. Let's see here. That was Carl. Next up, I'm glad your wife is watching the show, though, Carl. Luis Ortega writes, can we refer to Boba Fett as the Boba Yaga? I love it. I was calling the Baba Yaga, calling the Boba Yaga. Somebody's got to make that shirt. Somebody make that t-shirt with kind of a John Wick suit and tie and everything, but a Mandalorian helmet on, and it says the Boba Yaga. That's great. I love it. That was fabulous, Lewis. I love that one. All right. Cools also writes, also, Raul Coley has been trolling about playing Ezra. I did see that, but I think he's actually playing him. LOL. Thrawn will be Lars for sure. Again, I don't know about any of that. Number one, we don't even know that Thrawn is going to be in it. I mean, you can say all you want. Oh, it's obvious it is. Fact of the matter is right now, we do not know that Thrawn is going to appear in anything, right? Just because they did a fun name drop. Hey, listen, Ahsoka also name dropped Master Yoda. Are we expecting to see Yoda show up in Mandalorian? Probably not. I mean, maybe as a Force ghost, maybe, I suppose it's possible, but she name dropped Yoda, where none of us are expecting Yoda to show up. She name dropped Thrawn. Maybe that's for something that comes later on. I'm not saying they won't. I'm just saying right now we don't know that's possible. That's about who plays him. I don't necessarily think it would be Lars Mikkelsen, although I'd be totally cool if it is. All right, Empire Fan 1980 writes, you ever think we will ever get a show of Ahsoka and Sabine and their search for Ezra? Do I think they will? No, but it's totally on the table. It's totally on the table. I mean, listen, there was obviously a lot of really good reaction to that episode. Rebels. The reality is Rebels wasn't that popular of a show. And I'm a fan of the show, but the reality is it wasn't that popular. And that's why I don't think they'll do that, but it is absolutely on the table. I absolutely think that's probably something that's been discussed around Lucasfilm. Will it actually happen? Again, I would guess no. But I wouldn't put $100 on it. I wouldn't bet $100 they're not. It's totally on the table. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, next up. Mohammed Ibrahim writes, once that door opened, Grogu was no longer a baby. No, again, I still think he was a baby. He was a baby throwing a tantrum. A very awesome, powerful, destructive, menacing, force-wielding tantrum. But a baby throwing a tantrum nonetheless. You know what I'm saying? A baby throwing a tantrum nonetheless. So to me, yep, he is still Baby Yoda. By the way, guys, do me a favor. We are at 5:20. I still have a whole bunch of questions left to go. I got a whole bunch of questions left to go. So therefore I'm going to ask you guys, don't send any more super chats. Don't send any more because it's going to take me another a bit here to get through the remaining ones. And I want to make sure we get through all of the questions that got sent in. So if you're hearing me out there, don't send in any more. We're just going to get through the ones that we still have left over here. All right. Next up, where are we at? That was Abraham. We're now at Anthony R. And Anthony R. writes, I know your Star Wars source claims that Ahsoka was only in that one episode, but wouldn't it be funny if her hunt for Thrawn and Bo-Katan's hunt for Gideon led them to the same prize and cross paths? Dude, listen, that's the fact that I was told that, number one, Ahsoka's going to be there and she only appears in one episode and it's going to be episode 5. The fact that I was told that and that it's come to pass is the only reason I'm not expecting her to show up. Because I'll tell you what, if I wasn't told that that was the only episode she shows up in, and this is the same ones that told me about everything else that has happened this season so far too, including Slave One showing up and all that kind of stuff. If it wasn't for the fact that I was told it was indeed only for one episode, everything in me would believe that she's going to show up in the final episode, and so is Cobb, and so is Bo-Katan, and all the gang is going to, Cara Dune's, it was going to be one big posse. I don't see any reason why she wouldn't be a part of that, other than the fact that I was told that she shows up in episode 5, and that's going to be her only episode. And everything that I've been told about this season has turned out to be true, so I've got no reason to not believe that. But if it wasn't for that, everything to me says, obviously she'll be back in the final episode. So I know she's not. But I am with you in the sense that there's still a part of my brain that goes, I just feel like this whole thing is leading up to him gathering the whole posse together, and why not have Ahsoka as a part of that? But again, I know it's not, but I don't know. Everything else seems to point to it, so we'll just have to see how that works out. All right. Will Blackburn writes, great content, John. Thank you so much, Will. Appreciate that, man. Do you believe there will be a Jedi reveal in the last episode responding to Grogu's galactic wide range message? I do. I still don't know who it's going to be. My bet would be on Ezra, but that I don't know for sure. I mean, depending on when the events of Mandalorian happen in relation to the events of the final scene of Rebels, Dave Filoni kind of threw a question mark in there. Does the final scene in Rebels happen before or after the events of Mandalorian season 2? We don't know. So they kind of made it a little bit ambiguous. But yes, I do think somebody shows up in the final episode. Ezra, Cal, Mace Windu, Force Ghost, Luke himself, one of Luke's envoys. I don't know. I don't know who, but I do believe. And again, this is one of those things that I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but I believe we are going to get some kind of reveal there at the end. Let's see. Where are we at here? We are at Dr. Movies writes, John, I think it's safe to say Avengers Endgame will go down in history as one of the biggest box office movies of all time now. Absolutely true, Dr. Movies. But we are here to talk about Mandalorian at this point. But yes, I don't think the only thing that's going to pass Endgame is Avatar. Not Avatar 2, the first Avatar. I still believe somehow, some way, Disney is going to put the first Avatar back in theaters. Because remember, Disney owns Avatar now. I think Disney will put Avatar back in theaters for some limited run before the release of Avatar 2. Because Avatar is only this far behind Endgame for the all-time box office lead. And so with a short, limited release, re-release, it would pass Endgame. And then Disney can say, as they market Avatar 2, come see the sequel to the biggest box office film of all time, Avatar. So I do think you're going to see Avatar pass it. and then nothing else will get to it again because the movie theaters are pretty much done at this point. All right, next up, Comic John just sends in one to be supportive. Thank you, Comic John. Donald A. writes, just finished the episode. Talk about a Star Wars nerd's wet dream. Dude, it was so good. It was a little, again, for me, a little heavy on the fan service, but it was delicious. There's no doubting it was delicious. Oh, yeah, again, a little heavy on it's like, I'm just a simple man making my way in the universe. Look, everybody, remember Django said that in the prequel? Isn't that cool? That was a little cringy. But overall, totally delicious. Totally delicious and totally awesome. Ben Rayner writes, maybe Boba didn't know where the armor was until that premiere episode. Maybe with all the commotion, he finally found it. Favorite episode. Yeah, I mean, that's one thing. When Ann and I were talking about this, one thing that came up, like, listen, he got out. He's left for dead in the middle of the desert. While he's unconscious, somebody scavenges the armor. It ends up with the not with the sand people, with the why am I freezing on the name of the Jawas? It ends up in the hands of the Jawas, but he doesn't know. And then it's not until he finds out finally some dude is wearing his armor somewhere, and it's Cobb. He goes there just as Mando meets him and all that. So it's possible. It still seems like a bit of a stretch, but it's absolutely possible. There's ways to explain that, I think. All right, Charles A. writes. Where's Charles A? There he is. Charles A. writes, what do you think of Boba being under the influence of spice theory? And maybe that's why he wasn't as much of a badass during the OG movie theory. Nah, really, it's not like we saw Boba Fett in a fight and just get his ass handed to him. A fluke happened in Return of the Jedi. It was a total accidental fluke that happened. So if we saw him in a fight with somebody and he was just getting beat up and he was no good, there might be something to that theory. But he was there, he was primed to do something, and some accidental whoops, like fluke happened and whatever. So I don't personally buy into the theory. I'm not saying it's meritless either. I'm not suggesting that the theory is meritless, but I don't buy into that theory personally. Let's see. Where are we at now? We're at Carl Wolf, who writes, my wife thinks Boba set up Mando with the jetpack. Really? We did this before, Carl. With the jetpack because she knows the Empire is coming. Well, like I said before, Boba Fett seemed too surprised both when the stormtrooper showed up and when he saw their ship in the sky. It just seemed too surprised for me to think that sounds credible, you know? Sil20M writes, why not Quylon Voss answering the call? Listen, that is something we talked about the other day. Quinlan Voss showing up. I just don't think that's the direction they're going. Is it one of the other things that is involved in possibilities? Sure. I actually heard somebody the other day give a theory and explain out. I saw this theory online and I heard somebody explaining this, and I never would have thought, like, if you want to look at other characters connected to that, like Asajj Ventress, right? I never would have thought Asajj Ventress either, but then I heard somebody the other day give an explanation as to why they felt like Asajj Ventress could actually be a possibility as well. Not something I would have considered. Sorry, guys. I don't like checking my phone while I'm doing the show, but, you know, with my wife on the road going somewhere, when my phone buzzes, I got to look at it. Sorry, it's just the husband part of me. So characters like that are on the table. Anything could be possible. I don't think one of the likely candidates, but absolutely anything could be possible. Even something as far as a stretch as an Asajj Ventress. Even I understand what happened in the cartoons. I understand. I know what happened. But just like hearing different people's theories, I guess there are kind of narrative ways to go around it. All right. Aaron Green writes, Mace Windu is coming back. Boba needs revenge. Again, man, I'm telling you, that theory, that gives just some great possible narrative depth. So I'm warming up to that idea, dude. Anthony R. writes, so I'm showing my Star Wars nerdiness again, but this is only 5 to 6 years after Return of the Jedi, correct? Luke hasn't started training students yet. He is still traveling the galaxy. I doubt we will see a new Jedi Order student. You never know. You never know. Like, for all we know, Anthony, he could have come across a Force-sensitive adept 10 days after the events of Return of the Jedi. That could have become a traveling companion at that point. Like, the reality is, when it comes to canon, there is a lot of empty gaps. Especially when it comes to Luke. As far as canon goes, there's a lot of empty gaps there when it comes to Luke. So it is very feasible that maybe before he formally reestablished the Jedi Academy, that he may have found a couple of individuals that began traveling with him, and he maybe began to just train himself as he went throughout the galaxy, looking for other potential students and learning what he can and finding Jedi texts and all that kind of stuff. All that becomes absolutely possible. So we'll have to see what they do. Again, I'm not saying it's likely that either Luke shows up or one of Luke's envoys, but I'm saying it is a possibility that's on the table. We'll have to find out, Anthony. All right, CJ Adams writes, Jedi shows up at temple. Jedi, where is everybody? I got this call that said there's other Jedi. I showed up. What's going on? Yeah, so clearly there's going to have to be a roundabout path. A Jedi is going to have to show up on Tython, deduce what it is that finds dead stormtroopers around, figures out, like goes into the data pads or something, gets the information of what they're looking for, and figures out how to track down Mando. I mean, that's kind of the only thing that's left, because clearly he's not going to show up there and find anything other than some dead stormtroopers at this point, right? But so this Jedi is going to have to show up there on the planet and then deduce how to track down and find Mando. And my feeling is, although may not happen at all, but you know what'll probably happen? He'll track down Mando just in the nick of time in episode 8 to help save the day. Maybe yes, maybe no. We'll find out. All right. Suthius writes, hey, Mr. C, did Boba take martial arts lessons these past few years or what? Dude was brutal. I'm kind of convinced he could take on Mando one-on-one, no problem. I completely got that impression. Yeah. Mando's great. Make no mistake. Din is a warrior. But this is Boba Fett. And yeah, I got the feeling if it came to a straight up throwdown, Boba Fett wins. Now, I don't know, maybe Mando's the better gunslinger, right? So if it comes down to like a draw or an actual gunfight, maybe Mando wins. But clearly in a straight, I think what was pretty clear in a straight up hand-to-hand combat scenario, Boba Fett is Boba Fett, right? There's a reason he was the most feared bounty hunter in the galaxy that even Darth Vader himself would turn to. So that's kind of where my thinking is too. All right. Operation Spider writes, what if Grogu's vision trip shows his destiny as a Mandalorian rather than Jedi? Also, like Anne, I cosplay too. I'm thinking a mashup cosplay of Batman and Mandalorian. That would be pretty cool. And Grogu is Robin. Oh, that would be kind of fun. That'd be kind of fun. Yeah, I mean, look, Baby Yoda could end up being a Mandalorian. He is a foundling, right? It's the same path that Din and Jango Fett took, so why not? I mean, that's a possibility. I still think he goes Force user, but we'll see. One of my favorite pictures of Anne. Where did I put it? One of my favorite pictures of Anne is this great picture of where I love it when she crosses her cosplay. So she's got this great picture. I don't know if I've got it. I don't have it right here. Actually, you know what? Let me look. And because I got to bring it up here since you're talking. Let me see if I can find it. And cosplay. Okay, here. Let me see if I can find this image because it is absolutely one of my favorite of her. Okay, well, here's the one. Well, that's a sketch. Let me see if I can find the actual photo. Anyway, what it is, she did a mix of, here's one of the pictures. A mix of this. I like this. Check this out. So this is my wife Anne in her cosplay. So it's a mix of Slave Leia from Return of the Jedi and Princess Jasmine. And she's got a Jabba the Hutt painted up like a genie. Like I just think that's awesome. So she crossed the outfit is a cross of Princess Jasmine and Princess Leia, and the genie is actually Jabba the Hutt with the chain going to the collar on her neck. Right. It's one of my favorite mix-up cosplays that she's done. So that one's really, really good. Okay. Let's see here. Keep cosplaying, man. Keep cosplaying. Okay. Style 20M writes, everybody thinks it's a Jedi who saves Grogu, but if it's a Jedi, why all is dark in his mind from that time until he's rescued by Mando, says Ahsoka. Well, I think there's a couple of possible explanations. Possible explanation number one is trauma, right? Baby Yoda may have seen a lot of his little youngling friends getting murdered, right? Trauma could, our minds will try to protect itself by creating mental blocks, right? That's a total thing. Another thing is maybe it was a Jedi and a Jedi kind of put in the mental block to just protect little baby Yoda. Baby Yoda doesn't need these horrible memories. Maybe that's it. So there are a number of explanations about how it could go that way. So that's just kind of my thought on it at any rate. Let's see here. We're down to Logan. And Logan writes, Force user that shows up is Lor Santeca. Thoughts? Well, first of all, was there anything that suggested that Lor Santeca was a Force user? I'm not sure that there was. I mean, I know he worked with Luke. I know he did work with Luke, but I don't know that there was anything in there that suggested that he himself was a Force user. I'm just looking up Wikipedia. He's a human male, a seasoned explorer, knowledge and wisdom from across the galaxy, knows about the hidden lore of Jedi and the Galactic Empire tied to suppress away. I don't know if that says anything about him being a Force user. So I'm not so sure about that. It's an interesting theory. But I'm not sure there's anything there to support it. But let's keep our eyes open for that. Suthius writes, do we know what that round Jedi rock does? Nope. Never, other than it seems to be a cell phone of some sorts. It seems, or some kind of, centerpiece of concentrated Force energy. I don't know. Zam Master Artwork writes, hey, John, this 100% won't happen. But what if the big project Gideon is working on is Starkiller from The Force Unleashed? Possible. Filoni almost made him an Inquisitor in Rebels. It would be cool. I mean, to me, it seems clear the big project he's working on is a Force-related project with midichlorians. It seems clear the project, at least to me right now, it seems clear. Although just because something seems clear doesn't mean it's true. But right now it kind of seems clear that the project is working on is getting a Snoke made, right? We saw the Snoke clone body in that tube. We know they're trying to get the midichlorians. They're trying to get... So I don't think it's Starkiller. You're right. I don't think it is. I think it's pretty clear that Snoke is the project. But who knows? Maybe they kind of take a left turn with it and become something else entirely. We'll find out. Okay. Aces writes, I'd be careful if I was Mando with Baby Yoda. Oh, yeah. I mean, you could kind of already sense that too in the show, right? Because like Mando looks at him in the early part of the show and says, like, I can't do anything with you. Like, you're too powerful. Like, he just knows it, right? He just knows how powerful that baby is. But you're right. You got to make sure you don't get on the baby's bad side, because don't want to get on a baby's bad side when baby's tantrum could possibly kill you. All right. Josh writes, let me see if I can get this. Razauskas? Josh Razauskas, that's what I'm going with, writes, maybe the Jedi anoints Min a Jedi. Maybe the Jedi... I don't think you can anoint somebody a Jedi. Last week, a Mando and a Jedi. They'll never see it coming. This week, I can't train you. I'm not quite sure I'm following what you're saying, Josh. Let me try this again. Maybe the Jedi anoints Min. I don't know who Min is. A Jedi. Last week, Mandalorian and a Jedi. They'll never see it coming. This week, I can't train you. Maybe foreshadowing. If you're saying maybe a Jedi like anoints the Mandalorian a Jedi, that's not how it works. So I'm sure I'm just missing the point of what it is you're saying, Josh. I'm sure I'm just missing your point. I'm sorry about that. All right, Chill Level T writes, do you think Cobb Vanth will be recruited? I love him. If you mean recruited like into the posse, again, I honestly don't know, but I would guess so. If I had to bet $1, I would bet that we will see Cobb Vanth in the final episode as a part of the posse. Again, I don't know that for sure, but I feel pretty good guessing that. So I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Marcus writes, hello, John. I am a fan from the AMC days. Oh, thank you so much, man. And this is my first time writing in. Is it possible that Mace shows up, Fett kills Mace, and then kills Fett? And then, do you mean Din kills Fett? I mean, first of all, look, whenever you ask a question that says, could something happen, or is it possible that something happens, the answer is always yes. Is it possible that Mace Windu shows up, Boba Fett kills Mace Windu, and then Din kills Boba Fett? Yeah, it's possible. I don't think likely. I don't think they're going to pull Samuel Jackson out of Mace Windu retirement to show up and just get capped. I mean, but there would be something Shakespearean to it, wouldn't there? Like there would be a Shakespearean kind of element to Mando shows up having killed Boba Fett's father and now is killed by Boba Fett. But then why would Mando kill Boba Fett? Mando doesn't know Mace Windu. So, but again, it's not an impossibility. It's definitely a possibility that's on the table. Anyway, good to have you here, Marcus. Thanks for that, man. Jake Walsh writes, I feel like Mando wasn't very stressed out about Grogu getting snatched. Oh, I don't know. He seemed pretty stressed out. He just stays calm. Also, do you think there will be a character death this season like the Ugnaught last season? I can see Grief getting killed off. Yeah, listen, I think it's going to be like last season, right? Last season, all the heroes together for the big last adventure, IG-11 gets killed. Now, you can say that's kind of a cop-out because it was a droid, but still, IG-11 became an important character in the season, right? So much so that when they went back there was actually that statue, that memorial to IG-11 that they had erected in the background. Remember that? So just as that happened, I can totally see that happening again. Maybe it's Cara Dune, maybe it's Carl Weathers, I doubt it's Cobb, but maybe it's Cobb, maybe it's Boba Fett. I mean, who knows? But yes, I could see a character actually dying in the final episode. They seem to want to give that emotional pull. So, or maybe it'll be Burr. Who knows? It might be one of them as well. So, but I think you're right, Jake. I do think somebody is gonna buy it. All right. Aaron Hill writes, do you think Cal Kestis will show up? Cameron Monaghan Shameless is ending soon. Well, here's the thing. Him doing Shameless is irrelevant. He actually finished shooting Shameless months ago. I mean, forever ago. I mean, the show's airing, but that show was shot a long time ago. Television actors can do 8 or 9 different things at the same time. So that really has nothing to do with it. Cal, look, when we did the rundown on the John Campea Show of who could we see showing up, right? Who could we see showing up? Cal, there's a reason we made Cal one of those guys. So it's a possibility. It's not high on my list. I still think Ezra's number 1. I now think Mace Windu, because of the theories you guys have been putting in, I do think Mace Windu now is probably possibility number 2. But I would put Cal being it in the top 5. Again, I wouldn't bet money on it, but I think Cal is definitely a possibility. Absolutely. All right. Aaron Hill writes, I meant Cameron Monaghan's show Shameless is over. Yeah, but again, his work on that show was over a long time ago. Before that show airs its final episode, he had shot his stuff a long time ago, so that wouldn't affect it one way or the other. All right, final question of the day, guys. Comes to us from Ardent Defender, who writes, John, enjoy the new Mandalorian episode tonight. Now watching your new documentary movie on Amazon right now for Friday night movies. Oh, Ardent, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. And thanks for plugging my movie at the same time. I deeply, deeply appreciate it. And you guys can probably tell I'm about to finish 4 hours of live straight talking today. I did 2 hours on the John Campea Show earlier. We're getting close to 2 hours here today, but that'll do it, guys, for today's and this week's installment of our Mandalorian open spoiler discussions. What a great week. What a great episode this week. It was so fun. And where the hell are they going to go with the final 2 episodes? It kind of sucks that we only have 2 episodes left, doesn't it? It really sucks that we only have 2 episodes left, but whatever. We got 2 more episodes of goodness coming. I'm all excited. Thank you guys for being here today with me and joining in on this. And thank you to all of you who sent in the comments and questions, because you gave us some great comments and questions, and you pretty much got me convinced that Mace Windu is a stronger possibility than I thought before. But you guys also supported the channel while you did it. And all of us involved with the channel here, thank you guys very much for that. By the way, before I forget, I just want to mention this quickly. For those of you who follow me on social media, you know I talked about this before, and you've seen me wear this shirt before. Kevin Smets from, who is, the Smasher. He is a dude in our circles. He's a competitor on the Schmodown. I don't personally know him. To be honest with you, I don't personally know him, but I've been entertained by him. And I think a lot of you guys have too. He's been diagnosed with cancer recently. Please go look up the hashtag Smash Cancer. By the way, they also are doing some fundraising for him to help with his treatment, all that kind of stuff. Please go and look into that. It would be really good if you did and kind of supported this overall online community. It'd be great if you guys did. Guys, that'll do it for me. Don't forget, tomorrow on the John Campea YouTube channel, we've got a companion video coming. So we've got a whole bunch of questions that you guys have sent in on the show earlier today that we didn't get around to. We're going to clear off all those questions. So make sure you follow me in that. Follow our audio. Go and subscribe to our audio only podcast as well. So you got all the access to the audio editions if you want to as well. And guys, that'll do it for me for now. Ann will be back with me again next week as we talk about Mandalorian, the second final episode of the season. Make sure you join us then. But that'll do it for me for now, guys. My name's John Campea. And until next time, my friends, this is the way.